morning, everyone. It's 10 o'clock and I made it online on time. Yay! There's a lot of hoo-ha to do before you get here. Anyways, it is 2021 and this is the first talk of the year for CSL's Carlsbad. And we are just grateful to be with you here today. We're still online, but we are hopeful that we will be in person this year, but we definitely will not leave our Facebook friends. Today, I'm going to be talking about the life visioning process and the technology around it and how we move through it through the kingdoms of consciousness on an individual level and a collective level. But before we begin, why don't we start with the spiritual mind treatment? What we love to do here most is pray. So I invite you to close your eyes and to go within as I recognize there's only one life, one power, one presence, one essence of beauty and wholeness that's always seeking to express itself. It expresses itself in all of diversity from all over the world. And I know that I am one with this diverse expression of God. I am the life of God, the love of God, the beauty of the one mind, as I know this is my perfect truth. This is the perfect truth for each and every person here on Facebook Live. Each person is that divine expression of wholeness, of goodness, of beauty. And I know for each person in 2021, there is something that is seeking to express itself in their life now. It is a greater vision for each and every person's life. The universe is calling each and every person forward in a greater way to be receptive and open to hear the messages of spirit, to see with the inner eye, to hear with the inner ear, and to catch the vision for each and every person's life to live in a greater way, to live into that field of infinite potentiality. And I am grateful for this divine truth that spirit is broadcasting in everybody's life. And each and every person has something divine to bring to the table, a gift, a talent, a vision. And each and every person is ready to walk that hero's journey into something that is greater. So I am grateful for this time together as I release my word into the law, knowing that it's done. And I'm grateful that it is done. And so it is. Good morning, CSL Carlsbad. It's great to be with you here this morning. At 9:30, I had took everyone through the life visioning process. If you weren't here to go through that process, I invite you to listen to it and to do the meditative process with a pencil and paper to catch a greater vision for your life. So, the life vision process is truly a transformational spiritual practice. You can use it for your personal use, a business. People have used it in a business sense. I know that we have used it in our spiritual communities and classes. Anytime that you want to create a greater vision for the future, whether it's on an individual level or on a collective level, this is a great spiritual technology to access that intuition, that divine mind that's always broadcasting and seeking to express its diversity within each and every person. What I love about the spiritual technology, that it takes you out of old paradigms and it brings you into a new way of being in your life. It takes you out of old lack and limitation that may be running, and it challenges you to step into life in a greater way. This is someone who wants to, or a group of people who wants to step really into their greatness. You can use this for a special project, or if you just feel like there's a calling, you're not quite sure how to go about it and you want to be guided, the life visioning process is right there for you. I know that people have tapped into great inventions, great songs, great poetry. It's using that intuitive mind to hear what is seeking to be expressed in a greater way in your life, because you're breaking the agreement with mediocrity. You're breaking the agreement of business as usual, and you are stepping into awareness that you can live in that field of infinite potentiality and allow it to express itself in your life. But you have to be willing to activate this and allowing to move through your gifts and your talents of what is seeking to be expressed as you and through you now. What I love about what the life visioning process is that it actually is an adventure of the soul. And Michael kind of frames it as an adventure of the soul, because if you've ever been on a pilgrimage or an adventure, you would know that you're moving out of what feels normal. You're moving out of what you know on a day-to-day level, and you're moving into something that you're not quite sure what's going to happen when you turn the corner. And that can be a little scary, but it puts you into this heightened state, like, okay, what am I doing now? And where do I go now? And you stay in that present moment. When you continue to ask these questions in your life, they're empowering questions, and you're willing, you're able, and you're ready to move forward, something greater manifests within you. And you have this sense of freedom because you're listening with a deeper sense. And it's almost like you're walking hand in hand with the divine. It's like the intuitive mind is guiding you along your path. I know that for myself. When I started the life visioning process 20 years ago, I was just starting to meditate. And this is when I had my calling into ministry. And when I was called into ministry by the life visioning process, I was like, no, never. I am not doing this, because my life will completely change. And no worry. Spirit took care of me. The next day, my life fell apart. But this is kind of what happens. Our life falls apart in order for we can become who we are seeking to become in a greater way. It is scary in the moment, but we always get through it. And as you go through that journey, and a lot of times we become worried, well, I don't know how to do that. But the how is never your problem. Remember, when you are manifesting something and you're walking hand in hand with the divine, you are guided through inspiration of how and the next step to take. Your job is to stay in the what. What is it that what I'm creating? What is God's idea for my life? And when I stay in that what, then the how opens up. Yeah, you don't have to worry about the how. The what will bring the right people in the right situations and the right doors to open for you. So there is a technology to the life visioning process that I want to go through with you, and it is the awareness of the kingdoms of consciousness. And I'm going to speak about the kingdoms of consciousness as an individual in your individual life, and as the collective for what is happening in the world right now, because we are a part of the collective, and how we can move through this with ease and grace and with awareness. That's the most important thing. What I love about the kingdoms of consciousness is that when I first heard it, I was like, wow, this has really helped me move through the world in a greater way, because I can see, okay, where am I at right now? How am I behaving? And how can I move into a greater state of being? So there's 4 stages in the kingdom of consciousness. And the first stage of the kingdom of consciousness is the victim stage. This is the lowest level of consciousness, but we all go there. Like, no one ever stays out of any of these stages. We flow through these stages. They're not linear. But this is when you feel like something is happening to you, or something is doing something to you. This is the blame story, the shame story, the regret story, the feeling that you're a victim or you can't be successful because someone did something to you that's holding you back. And this is not true. This is what we feel is happening to us. This is a place where people practice gossip and they practice blame. They project fear onto others and onto their own self. This is a place where people live from reaction to reaction. And it is through the awareness of this that we can move through it and out of it. Michael always says that you're either pushed by pain or you're pulled by vision. So if you're pushed by pain and you're not pulled by a vision, what happens? You continue to recycle pain over and over and over in your life. When you're pulled by a greater vision, you can move through that pain and you can take responsibility for your life and whatever is happening to you. So in order to move out of this victim conscious stage, we have to take responsibility for our lives. Like to say, okay, I'm no longer the victim. I'm willing to move out of shame. I'm willing to move out of blame. I'm willing to move out of regret. And I'm willing to take responsibilities for what is happening to me right now. And on a collective level, what is happening in the world right now. We're in this pandemic. So of course we feel like we're victims collectively, the collective consciousness. We can't sit in restaurants. We can't go to our gyms. We can't go to yoga. We can't have parties. We cannot be together in a group because we are victims of circumstances. And we want to blame it on everyone. Of course, the Chinese. We want to blame it on the president. We want to blame it on everyone except for ourselves, taking responsibility for what is happening to us right here and right now. And the only way we can really take responsibility for it is to say, I'm going to move out of the shame, the blame, and regret, and know that whatever is happening, sometimes things happen because people are just ignorant. And it's okay. That's our only excuse for or bad things happening in our lives. That there's ignorance that is going on. But from an enlightened state of point of view, we can say, you know what, I'm going to take responsibility for this pandemic right here and right now and do my part, the best of my ability, and to see the world how the world wants to be seen. And so as we do this, we move into stage 2. And stage 2 is the manifestor stage. I love this stage. It is a great stage to live in. It is a stage that everything is done by me, that I am the creator of my world. I kind of feel like Tarzan. I am the great creator. My thoughts create my reality. This is a fun stage when you're learning new thought, wisdom for the first time, religious science. You realize that your thoughts create your reality, just as Jesus has taught that it is done unto you as you believe. And this is a powerful stage when you understand the law of attraction, when you understand the universal laws and how they work in your relationship with them, then you can manifest anything in your life. There isn't anything that you can't be, do, and have when you're in this manifestation stage. It's also a great stage for learning spiritual mind treatment and how that works. As we pray, it is lawful that there is a demonstration. And so you recognize there's one life, one mind, one presence. And as you speak your word into the law, it becomes a reality. And so on the universal level, how does this happen on a universal level? Well, we can see the universe consciously come together as one, and everyone has belief. They have faith that we can move through this. Then there's a healing. When we can pray on a universal level for all people and for the universe, then there becomes a healing. Everything is manifested through me, right? So when you become one with the universal good and you see the universe how they want to be seen, then a healing occurs. And it's a collective belief that we're going to get better. I could say that the one collective belief that we do have right now is the fact that there's going to be a vaccine, or there is a vaccine, or it's coming up and they're going to perfect it. And there is light coming to the end of the tunnel. So we all believe in that vaccine, whether there's just saline in that vaccine or there's something else, and we believe it's going to work, then so be it, right? It is done on a collective level. And I'm grateful for this. So this is the collective for stage 2. But I have to say that this is probably one of the most exciting transitions from stage 2 to stage 3 in your spiritual growth and development, is recognizing that, I guess when I was learning about the next stage of consciousness, the surrender stage, I was manifesting great things in my life because I'm a great manifester. I know how to manifest. This is one of those things that I have always been able to do even before I came into the religious science teaching. But what happened, I kept on hitting my head against the wall. And I didn't know why I was hitting my head against the wall, because it was done by me. And I'm the one that controls how it gets done. Well, that's not really the case. I'm not the controller of how things get done. And the more I felt like I was the controller, the more my head would bang against the wall. So, and this is when we learn that this great art of surrender. And when we surrender to the greater good, It's not done by me, it's done through me. This is when the magic really occurs in life. Then this is when you recognize that the divine and all the magical beings are with you as you're moving through this life with divine ease and grace, because it's like the doors are opening. You're not even asking how they're opening. They're just opening. You just know that's their job. What's your job is what do I want, and what's God's job and how you're going to get it. And if you can surrender to what's God's job, then you've got life. I mean, you know how to live it. You understand the universal laws. You understand how they work, and you understand your relationship with them. What's my life? What's my job and what's God's job right here? Your job is to surrender to the greater good and allow it to express in your life. You know, the surrender is also you being a vehicle for spirit. Like, okay, I'm going to surrender to a talent. Let's say I was a dancer, so when I would just let spirit dance through me, it was no longer me dancing, it was spirit moving through me. Or you're a singer, spirit's moving through you and singing. Or a speaker, spirit's moving through me and speaking. Or whatever you do, a pilot, and whatever you're doing, your skill, there comes a point where you're so skilled at it that you can let it go and allow spirit be the driver of that skill. And so this is just a great process of surrender and allowing the divine to move through you. So how can we see this on the collective level when we surrender? When we see life as being whole again, that we're all able to be collectively in a group without being in a state of fear or separation. And I'm giving of myself. I'm giving something up of myself. I surrender my personal selfishness for the greater good of everyone else. This is part of the surrender. And I know that as I surrender that and I honor all people around me, all races and all diversity, and I give up that fear of separation and I surrender to the greater good, then a healing occurs. Because I really feel right now that we are in this pandemic. I mean, nothing happens to us. Everything happens for us. So when someone betrays you or someone does something to you, they're doing it for you for a greater healing in your life. And I talked about that through the radical forgiveness. On a collective level, what is happening in this pandemic is that we are living in a state of fear and separation. There's something that needs to be healed within us on a collective. And so when we give up the fear, when we give up the separation, when we understand that we are all one and we are all united, then and only then we move into a healing. And then and only then can we move collectively into the fourth stage of consciousness, that everything is done as us. For I and we are all one with God. This is the as us stage, a moment when you recognize there is no separation between you and I, that we are all one, no matter what race, what color, what creed, what religion, we are all one. It is, as the Bible said, closer than my breath, nearer than my hands and feet. And on the individual level, you feel when you give up, when you're in the stage 3 and you give up the separation to go into stage 4, it's like maybe you're in a state of meditation. All of a sudden you realize, oh my God, I am that I am. I am one with all of life. If you ever had that experience, it's super exciting and it's very joyful to feel that you are one with all of life. And then collectively, when we have this experience that we are all interconnected, we won't have to worry about fear and separation. And the best thing that we can do for the collective is to see them as one, to see everyone as one, and see everyone with an open, loving heart. But it is our mind, our consciousness that holds that light. There's a wonderful new thought mystic teacher called Paul Selig. I think he won an award with the Walden Award with the New Thought community. And he quotes, "You cannot be in the light and see the darkness in others." Yeah, you cannot be in the light and see the darkness in others. No matter how bad someone is, there is a divine light that is always shining within. So it's our job to see that divine light and to see that we are all interconnected and we are all one. So these stages of consciousness, there's 4 stages of consciousness. Everything is done to me, the victim stage. Everything is done by me. I am the great manifester of life. Everything is done through me. I give it up and I allow spirit to take over. I love that. And everything is done as me. Then I am one with all of life. And this is not a linear process. This is your life moves through all stages. Like you could be meditating 1 minute, feeling like you're one with all of life, and all of a sudden you get in your car and someone rear ends you, and you feel like you're the victim of circumstances, and you decide, okay, well, they didn't need it. I'm going to take responsibility for this and know that it's all going to be perfect. And you move into the second one, and then you just move into the third one because you just allow spirit to take care, move through you and to make the right moves in order to have the perfect manifestation. So it's not like we live in one stage. You want to live in the third and fourth stage most of the time if you can. And with practice, we do. It's through the conscious awareness and the practice that we can move into the other states of consciousness. So going back just real quick to the life visioning process, when you do go through the process, there are a couple questions that are really great to live in on a regular basis. And one of them is, what must I become? What must I become? When you have a vision or you have something that you want to do in your life, like, what is it that I must become in order to be this, in order to do this, in order to express it, in order to become what is willing to be birthed within me? What is my growing edge and what must I become? And you can do this, with your friends or with a group, because people know. They know you. They know what you must become. And sometimes we can be in denial of what we must become, but there's something within you that's always seeking its greatness. And the other one is, what must I let go? That surrendering is so divine. If you can just let your ego get out of the way. Is it my way, or do I want to be happy, or do I want to be, or do I want to allow this presence of spirit to come into my life? So as long as we let our ego and we can surrender to the greater good, it's easy to let go of things that don't serve us anymore. They can be habits, or they can be ways of thinking, or false belief. What must I let go of? And just recognize that you have divine gifts and talents in your life, and you can use those gifts and your talents for this greater vision of your life. I think my glasses is steaming up here. I'm going to have to take it off for a second. So yeah, use your gifts and your talents in your life to express your greater good, to express what is seeking to emerge through you, and just be willing to say the sacred yes. Yes, I'm willing to go on the hero's journey. I'm willing to, this is scary, not know what's around the corner. Yes, I'm willing to walk into the unknown. It can be very scary, but even if you're scary, and you walk through the fear, that's probably one of my habits. I'm always scared, but I always walk through the fear. I'm the biggest scaredy cat, and I'm always wanting to walk through that fear. So just be willing to walk through your greater good. So in order for something to be expressed, because once you walk through it, you're like, wow, I didn't even have to fear that. I mean, how many things have I feared in my life? Everything. How many times have I walked through the fire? Many. How many times I fell on my face? Tons of time. And that's kind of what we do in order to express something greater, because then we get used to it. And once you find that you practice it over and over, there's no more fear. You got this. Yeah. So, and when we understand this evolutionary process, yes, I'm going to be afraid. Yes, I'm going to fall on my face. Yes, I'm going to get up and do it again. Yes, I'll figure it out. And yes, one day I'll feel comfortable. It's kind of like, that's kind of how it is. That's the evolutionary process. And then living in that state of great gratitude for what's happening in your life and great appreciation. This is where the universe corresponds to what we're feeling, because the universe doesn't respond, oh, she's a good person, I'll give her that. No, the universe corresponds. So that feeling of gratitude, the universe always says yes to that feeling of gratitude and appreciation. And you know that the greater good is always going to walk into your life when you are having that feeling. So I'm not sure if you got the Religious Science magazine this month. It's really good. It is really talking about oneness. We have Edward Vallone. Dr. Edward Vallone is our new spiritual leader, and boy, he's really wonderful. He has daily writings in there that you can read through your meditation. It's all about oneness and how beautiful it is. And then there was a story at the end of the Religious Science magazine that I want to share with you that was written by Dr. Roger Teal, and he wrote, Years ago, I saw a movie filmed in the late 1930s called Lost Horizon. It was about a group of plane crash survivors who were stranded in the Himalayas. Miraculously, they met a guide who gave them more clothing and led them on a journey. It wasn't a far journey, but it was very difficult. They found themselves tracking up steep, icy paths, all linked together by a long, well-knotted rope. The combined strength of the group would save any one of the travelers that may have slipped along the way. Sure enough, they were led to a valley hidden deep within the mountains and a land of eternal contentment where gentle people lived together. Together, they generously and harmoniously, it was called Shangri-La. It is apparent that humanity is currently navigating some particularly slippery slopes. Our extensive challenges are produced by mindsets of fear, separation, hostility, limitation, and inequity. We have learned from the needless suffering, it is a high time to tap the possibilities of realized oneness. Like in the 4 stages of consciousness, the travelers in the Lost Horizons were victims of circumstances. They became a plane crash survivor. However, they moved into the 2nd stage of consciousness when they believed that they could really make it. They could survive this. And then they moved into the 3rd stage of consciousness when their spirit of givingness to the good of the total group. So, and then they moved to the 4th stage of consciousness where their unambiguous connection uniting them as one. How beautiful is that, right? So Shangri-La is so much more than a fiction story. It's a magical terrain where we always discover when our hearts connect to oneness. There's a divine healing. So let's pray. So I go within right here and right now, recognize there's only one power, one presence, one essence of love that is undivided by the whole. This expression of oneness expresses itself through all and as all. It is the interconnection of all of life. And I am one with the power of the presence of God. I am one with the life of God. I am one with that divine, perfect expression of spirit. As I know this is my perfect truth, I know this is the perfect truth for each and every person here on Facebook Live, that we are all interconnected. We are all one with all of life, and how beautiful this is to recognize this, to see this, to know this, to claim this, to feel this, to hear this. And what I know for each and every person here is that we see the universe connected, all connected through our hearts, through the oneness of the whole. We see each and every person as a divine light, divine individual, and how beautiful that is. As I am grateful and I sit here in my gratitude for seeing this interconnection of all people, I know that the universe is healed, that we are whole and we are complete in every single way. And I release my word into the law, knowing that it is done, and so it is. I love you. And so it is. I'll see you at the end of the month. Bye-bye. Have a blessed day.